Okay, welcome to our Indulgence class. Today we're talking about storing the seeds for winter so we're replenished when spring comes. We're going to start with legs up the wall today. All of our poses are going to be 10-minute long holds so we can really gather the chi. So if you want to go ahead and get set up in legs at the wall, that would be great. Did you start the 10-minute hold for this one? Thank you. So this is a great pose for your kidneys. You can focus on the grounding aspect of this pose, feeling your upper body really supported in this pose. So really breathing into your kidneys and your adrenals, just drawing in that nourishing breath into that space, which is just in your low back, beneath your rib cage and your low back. Knowing that you can really settle in and allow yourself to be here. So water element season, winter is the most yin of all the seasons. All of life rests like a bear in hibernation, taking those slow and shallow breaths. And then it's time to live from those accumulated energy reserves at this time. And during this season, energy condenses and builds deep within the nurturing earth. And we can, we want to align our energy with the season so we too can condense and build our energy like a seed or bulb that is planted deep within the earth. This is the essence of life force energy that exists in its most primitive state. It stores a huge amount of potent energy, not to be used, but to be stored, just waiting to be birthed later in the spring. It's the kidney organ system that hold this dormant energy, and it's called, this vitality is called Jing Qi, Jing Qi. This Jing Qi is very precious. It's a non-rechargeable battery. We can't recharge it. We get a certain amount at the beginning of our lives. So we don't want to drain it. So all we can do is make sure we're conserving this energy. Conservation is key. So we want to conserve and store our energy resources, treating them with the utmost of reverence and respect. In this yin yoga class, we're going to come home to ourselves through your kidney meridian to attune to your life force energy and to protect that dormant energy, which will be waiting to be birthed in spring. And just so you know where your kidney meridian energy is, it starts at the sole of your foot. It runs along the inner edge of your legs before, and it ascends into your torso, and it ends at your collarbone. So some places where you can put your attention in this class because they are long holds. So it will be normal for your attention to wander, and it's good to have some anchors. So you can place your attention at this idea of conserving and gathering chi, and there's a few ways you can do that. One is, through your breath. Imagine breathing into those kidneys and adrenals in your low back. You can focus on body sensation, maybe the kidney meridians themselves, which run along the inner legs and through the torso up to the collarbones. You can focus on the support of the earth. Wherever you're feeling the support of the ground, you can just sink into that and allow that ground and earth to support you. If it's difficult to come into those internal sensations, sometimes it can be more helpful to open your eyes and allow yourself to ground yourself visually in your space. You can also if your body is really tense and it's sort of fighting against everything right now, one of the ways to relax is to open your ears. And kidneys are connected to your ears. This is why inner listening is really important in the winter season. So, opening our ears and allowing the soundscape to come to you, it has a way of softening instead of fighting against what's happening um, in your oral environment. So allowing that soundscape to come to you can be a way of focusing and being mindful and allowing yourself to be really present. And if you're really struggling today, mentally, emotionally, physically, energetically, know that, this tends to create a feeling of isolation. Our suffering creates a feeling of isolation, the illusion of isolation, but we're never truly alone in our isolation, in our suffering. Unfortunately, there's most definitely somebody else in the world experiencing something almost the same as us. This is a big part of self compassion, to know that we are not alone. So, one of the mantras that we use that can be quite helpful is to offer ourselves self compassion. Self compassion can be a way to really come into the present moment, to know that we're not alone in what we're experiencing, to know that others feel this too. And that can be a mantra, no matter what you're going through physically, mentally, emotionally, energetically, even spiritually, whatever stress, whatever suffering you're going through, others do feel this too. You are not alone. And that can tend to soften things a bit too. Your mind's on that suffering anyway. Allow it to be a way that you offer yourself self compassion. Okay, so very slowly you're going to bend your knees and allow that blood flow to come back into your legs. Roll to your side slowly. And you can leave your mat in its position, or if it's more convenient to move it elsewhere in the room, then that's a good idea too. So make your space as conducive to conserving energy as possible and move between poses in a way that also conserves and honors your energy as well. So we're just going to take a moment to lie down in between the pose, to receive that first pose, to integrate the chi. And then we're going to slowly make our way to our next pose, honoring our energy, conserving our energy. Our next pose is going to be butterfly. And you can choose in this pose how you want to take butterfly. You can take it seated in the forward fold version, or you can take it reclined over a bolster. So you're going to choose which one's going to be most appropriate for you, and which one you want to stay in for 10 minutes. So I'm going to take the seated version. Remember, you can use your eye pillow if you're taking the reclined version. You can prop yourself with blocks, or you can put your blanket. I like that version where you put the blanket around your pose. Can you start the timer? So we're coming into either the forward fold or the recline version. And let's just check in on the principles of yin again as they relate to this conservation of energy, of building this real storehouse of energy. So when you choose your appropriate edge, choose one that's going to honor those energy reserves, that's not going to drain that non-rechargeable battery. In the same way, we soften and find stillness and stay for a while, all to honor that Jing Qi and to conserve our energy. So, the cycle of winter and water element season is a season where we're in the fallow fields of our practice, of our lives. And the secret in this season is to conserve our energy and vitality so that we do not become depleted. This is a period where the seeds, if we use the garden metaphor, or the bulbs are planted deep within the earth. We're conserving energy. We're listening deeply to the needs of our bodies. We're connecting with our inner wisdom. We're allowing for a deep rest. It takes a lot of courage to be in this period because we're actually quite fearful when we're not in action. We live in a culture that encourages us always to be in action, always to be producing. But this is a very important stage that happens before action, where we conserve our energy, where we gather our inner resources, where we listen to our inner wisdom, our inner guidance, and we're we're creating these resources of inner creativity. The more we take this time in gestation, the more energy we'll actually have for action. But that comes later in spring. You're going to pause here before you come out, and come out slowly and intentionally, conserving your energy. Rolling to the side if you're in that reclined position, coming up if you're in the forward fold position. And then making your way onto your back to receive the posture, to feel the flow of chi. Okay, from here, we're going to make our way into our next yin posture, which is going to be child's pose. But if that's too much weight pouring through your knees and your ankles, you can always take knees to chest pose on your back. I would encourage you to either have your feet supported by a wall or a piece of furniture. So it's not so much for you to hold it for so long, for 10 minutes, because 10 minutes is a long hold if you are taking the recline version on your back. Otherwise, you can join us in the forward folding version of child's pose. You can use a block, bolster. You can have your bolster on an incline. So set it up so it's going to be comfortable for you for 10 minutes, because you're going to be here for 10 minutes. And remember, you are your own best teacher, and you are the boss of you. So you can always come out earlier if that's what is going to work best for you as well. So in child's pose, it's quite nice to, if an intentional breath works for you, to breathe into your low back, where your kidneys and adrenals are, and focus on that storing of energy, honoring and conserving that energy. So one of the questions that we can ask ourselves, a question for contemplation, is how can I honor this time of gestation? This time of being carried in the womb space, of developing in the darkness over a period of time before spring comes, before the time of birth. What is my body asking of me? What is my mind asking of me? My energy, my emotions, my spirit. What needs to be honored in this time of gestation? Then allowing that inner listening and inner wisdom to come forward. This time in water element season and winter season is a time when the bond between what is young and fragile within you can be strengthened with your inner wisdom. So, this time of quietness and inner stillness is a beautiful time to listen and become comfortable caring for the parts of you that require love and compassion, tending, care, and spiritual guidance. So, in order to conserve our energy, it really helps to follow the natural flow of the seasons. And we can keep our energies focused and refined by harmonizing our body with our environment. And in water element season, winter season, we can create an abundance of energy when we protect our vitality. This is also a time of heightened spirituality where there's inner attention, time of solitude. The outer spaces of darkness and quiet and stillness allow us to build these inner reflective spaces. Okay, so you're going to slowly make your way out of this pose and find your way onto your back to allow the chi to flow. So our next pose is going to be wide-legged seated forward fold. If you have sciatica or back issues, then that's going to be probably not a good idea for you. So I'm going to make some suggestions here for you for that. A better option, a really good option for sciatica is going to be back bend, Sphinx pose, but 10 minutes is a really long time for Sphinx pose, so that's also not going to be ideal. So what I recommend is to listen to your own body, do Sphinx pose for a time. When it feels like it's complete, come down into crocodile pose, which is still a little back bend. When you feel like you might want to come back into it, come back into it. You'll know in your body. I sort of find 2 minutes at a time is enough for me in Sphinx pose. But you might, so you really just need to listen to your own body. So I recommend if you have sciatica, back and forth between Sphinx pose and crocodile during the time that we'll be doing this long hold in wide-legged seated forward fold. Not yet. We're not in it yet. So for wide-legged seated forward fold, you're going to need a cushion or a folded blanket so that you can have some elevation in your pelvis to help you fold forward. And then it's also nice to use a bolster, depending on how much your anatomy, your skeleton allows your pelvis to roll over your leg bones. You can fold forward and lay down on your bolster, or if your skeleton's like mine and it doesn't, you can use your bolster like this. Okay, so we'll go ahead and start that timer now. You're going to be in this pose for 10 minutes. You want to make sure, just check in on that edge. Make sure you're choosing an appropriate edge that you can be with for 10 minutes, because it's probably not going to, it's going to intensify, if anything. And you can always adjust it during, we ask you to be still, but that doesn't mean that you can't adjust your experience. So be still, soften, and it may require adjustment over the 10 minutes when you're in this pose. So when we're talking about this gestation phase, we are talking about making space and time to just be to time for just being before doing. This is about listening to our bodies and hearts for their sweet desire. It's a time to be receptive, to honor your wisdom and inner knowing. It's a non-directive time when you're building connections within. It's a time of calm and ease that will follow your own intuition, honoring the fallow fields of winter, to focus on storing and receiving. And it will also honor that emotion of fear that is normal and does arise in this transformative time. It's a slow period that requires faith and courage to be in the mystery. So, our entire culture will encourage you to be planning, making plans with a certain destination and a certain outcome, especially in a time when we're living where it's really actually quite impossible to do that, to do this. Our we just we can look at the natural world around us, and it can provide us some solace and comfort. When we align with its rhythm and know that winter outside, there's this death season, there's this time of waiting, there's this time of gathering energy, then it allows us to see that this is just part of the natural cycle of life. And when we align with it as well in our own lives, then there's less resistance, there's less fighting against the natural rhythm of things. Okay, so very slowly you're going to make your way out of this pose. And we're going to set ourselves up for our final resting position. So this will be a choice. My recommendation is constructive rest position, which is great for gathering energy. The way that constructive rest position works is you lie on your back. You have your knees bent and they drop towards each other. You could use a strap to create some stability there in your knees. You can have your hands wherever you want, one on your belly, one on your heart, both on your belly, palms up beside you, palms down beside you. I would recommend pulling a blanket up over top of you. If you like the eye pillow on your eyes, it can be quite grounding for for the eyes, which deal with so much visual stimulation, but that's your choice. And if this position doesn't work well for you, you can always put a bolster underneath your knees. You know, choose your own shavasana. So we'll just set the timer for 10 minutes here. So, in the style of yoga that I'm teaching that follows five element theory and the natural rhythms of the seasons, it allows us to understand the way that energy works in life and really to adapt with the flow of that energy in our world and in the seasons and follow the rhythms of our earth and adapt without being swayed by the sort of one rhythm that our society has, which is always to go, always to produce, and always to be in activity, always to be in expansion. So when we're adjusting to these cycles and rhythms that the seasons naturally follow, when we're in winter season, it encourages us to not to deplete ourselves, not to overburden ourselves, to abide in an inner calmness, and really to honor our energy in a way that we're not dispersing or scattering our energy. This is really a time to condense and conserve our energy. And when we really preserve our energy in our yin organs, this will help to support the smooth flow of yang qi, particularly when we come into the seasons later, like of spring, when there's that natural upward flow of energy. So the seeds that were planted in winter start to come up out of the ground, which takes an enormous amount of energy, bursts of energy. And then in summer, when the fruit grows on the tree and expands outwards and the flowers bloom, also very expansive and yang energy. So the more time we take in winter to conserve that energy, the more energy we have later for that upward burst of energy in spring that is coming and that expansive energy in summer, so that we can, right now we're conserving the energy so that the fruit will be sweeter and the flowers will be more beautiful in summer. So we're conserving energy in winter. And this is the root of our life. And if this root of life, the root of our life force energy is damaged, then our true energy is going to wane. So yin holds the yang and it allow for its smooth and easy expression later. So as I'm saying, this through the yin seasons, so the winter season in particular, this is the most yin of all the seasons. We're creating this foundation, this very important foundation for the smooth and easy flow of expression of yang energy in spring, where that's that burst of energy where the seed grows out of the ground, and summer, where there's the expansive energy where the fruit ripens and the flowers bloom. But if we're excessive in our expression of yang energy, then we deplete this container of yin energy, and then then our fruit won't be sweet, and our flowers won't bloom. So I have a poem for you today. I chose quite a long poem because I knew we were going to be in constructive rest together for a long time. It's called "It's as If Someone Else Is With Me" by Clea Roberts. Verse 1. It's as if someone else is here with me in this room in which I lie. The longing the ear feels for sound has given me the sweetness that I confuse with her. The joy of being alone, eating the honey of words, the white walled room, and Stevens and the sun. This is the joy of the soul that has preserved itself despite fleas and soap in the light-hearted sun. One is not alone when one is alone, if she is here. It is a she that no one loves, a she that one loves when one loves what one does love. Verse 2. November is gone, bare trees, winter. At nightfall, the lonely streets fill with ice and cars. Loneliness fills my chest as if I walked all night by the North Sea. I am here somewhere near the edge of life, a warm room, lamps, some poems I love, to nudge a poem along towards its beauty. Is that selfishness? Is it something silly? Do others love doing this? Longing to find her in a phrase and to be close there, kissing the walls and the door frame, happy in the change of a single word. Verse 3. A lamp pours light into the room, and it's your room, and you write poems there. You never tire of the curving lines and the freedom of the sounds and the demons peering around the molding. The beauty that 6 or 7 words can bring together makes the whole brain sing. And I feel like a single-souled cook in the Middle Ages praising God in the kitchen pans. But our praise is more like humming of bees. What if a beehive were run this way? Who would eat up all the honey? Don't worry about it, the workers say. I'll fly out and be religious. Verse 4. It is morning and it's calm. And the man writes along, inviting this detail and that, looking towards some playful life. What life? Oh, never mind, the life of language. And thinking, longing waves one arm, and the woman inside us looks out from her eternal indolences, feeding the hummingbirds with her flower thoughts. I like here with a cover and coffee and a pen, feeling delight in being a child of language. Neither man nor woman exactly, but a young monk in a sin boat bobbing among the seals of sound. Verse 5. I've been thinking about these little adventures in morning longing, these embarkations, excursions in round hid boats on the sea, passing over the beings far below. The deep vowels, perhaps wails, mourn and sing at their stone table 5 miles down on the ocean floor. They mourn some loss, but the small finny sounds, the airs and ins and oars and ing mourn as well. We don't know what. Perhaps vowels were all created in a moment of sorrow before creation, a grief they've not been able to sing in this life. Verse 6. It's good to stay in bed a while and hear the Acillus hidden in the sequacious scent in the summer world, the two ers, listen for the inn hidden in woodbins. Am I like the hog snuffing for truffles, followed by skimpy lords in oversized furs? For this gaiety, do I need forgiveness? Does the lark need forgiveness for its blue eggs? So it's a bird-like thing then, this hiding and warming of sounds. They are a little low. Heavens in the nest, now my chest feathers widen. Now I'm an old hen. Now I am satisfied. Verse 7. The world is its usual rich self. Disturbed news came before sleep, then hours below light, finally, a return to coffee and the joy of unfinished poems. It is early October, bright leaves falling everywhere. What could it mean that sharp leaves fall? Does it imply that the best are called first? Do we long to think that when a baby dies early, it nevertheless blesses the starts? I don't want to imply such abundance of meaning exists in me. A lamppost shines over the ocean. The waves take what they want of the light. The rest they give back to the hospitals and the poor. Verse 8. The dawn comes. Leaves feel it's time to say something, and I feel myself drawn to you. I know this is wrong. Mhm. Can you hear me again? Okay, we're back. I'll start at verse 8, which is the last verse of this poem. Verse 8. The dawn comes, leaves feel it's time to say something, and I feel myself drawn to you. I know this is wrong. To be drawn to you can cause trouble. I do so against all advice from that one in me who saved me by keeping me along. I've lived in so many houses where you were not. If you became a dock, I became a boat and pushed away. Those who are drawn to you became land. If you are land or water, if you are water, I want nothing from you but to see you. Okay, so you're going to gradually allow your breath to deepen. You're going to start to wiggle and stretch out, invite some movement back. Notice how your energy is at the end of this class compared to the beginning when we took all that time to conserve. As you start to make your way into a seated position, we're going to sit together for a moment in meditation to just check in, to integrate our practice, to see what stands out for us. So come to a comfortable seated position. You can sit on a meditation cushion, kneeling on some blocks, sitting in a chair. There's no right or wrong, just what's best for you. And so sit in such a way that you can tune into your inner experience, reflecting back on your experience of this class. So reflect back on your experience of this class, the 10-minute yin yoga holds, the theme of conserving your energy through water element season, through winter season, through the experience of the sensations in your body. And just notice what stands out, what seems most important to you. Notice how that thing that stands out relates to your life off your yoga mat right now. What's the life connection? And then you can tune into that part of yourself. We've been talking about inner listening, inner wisdom. So tuning into that part of yourself that is all wise and all knowing, that wants only the best for you. And just see if there's some wisdom or guidance or a blessing for you. So we're just opening ourselves to receive that. And if you received a blessing, imagine yourself receiving that blessing. If you receive some guidance, just imagine yourself putting that guidance into action in the next couple of hours or in the next day. You know, what would that look like? What would it feel like? What would you receive from it? I want to acknowledge you for taking this time, for committing this time in your schedule. I know taking 2 hours in your schedule for a yin class to dedicate to this level of stillness. I know you all have families and responsibilities and other commitments, and you could have been doing any number of things during this time. And so to commit to this length of time to conserving your energy is really quite extraordinary in a world that would have us be doing all the time. And I really want to acknowledge you um, for spending this time in gestation. It's really quite an extraordinary thing. So in a minute, we're going to be transitioning to our circle. And when we do that, we hold true to all the guidelines that we agree to when we come into this community, which is that the very first one is to practice ahimsa or nonviolence. And the way that we do that is that we speak from our own experience, and we do that by using the words I, not speaking for the whole group by saying you or assuming that we know what's going on for other people. We also don't give advice. That's our number one rule. So even if somebody feels like they're going through a very painful experience, we don't try to fix them or change them or rescue them in any way, which can be really painful if it seems like somebody's going through a difficult experience. We trust, just like we have our own inner wisdom, our own inner healer, our own inner resources, that each person here also has their own inner teacher, their own inner wisdom, their own inner healer that they're able to gather those resources from, just like you. So we're going to start when we come into our circle with the one word check in. Everything is optional here. So although I'll call on your name, you may say that you don't want to do one word check in. The one word check in is designed for us to connect as a community. It's designed for those that are maybe nervous about speaking up, to give you a chance to be brave and say one word about what stood out about your experience in the yoga class. And for those that really like to speak a lot, to be brief. But as I said, it's optional. After we speak in with the one word check-ins, then I'll open up the floor for you to speak more broadly about your experience if you wish, also optional. You can ask questions at this time. I'm happy to answer questions. You can also speak about what stood out about your experience from the day, or if you have any questions about your yoga practice, more generally speaking, or about the community, more generally speaking, I'm very happy to stay and have a discussion with you right now. We have until 11:30 blocked off for this time. That's our container. Um, so that's what I'm available for you for that time. Do you have a list of names for me? Do you have a list of names for me? Okay. Okay, so you are muted at this time. So when I call your name, if you wish to speak your one word check in, then I will ask that you unmute yourself. Okay, Paul?
Serenity.
Thank you. Pascal?
I'm sorry, rest.
Thank you. Maria?
Unity.
Thank you. Patty.
Relaxed.
Karen.
Centered.
Great. I've got 3 Karens. Okay. Thank you, Karen. That's great. I appreciate that. Okay. And no, Karen Groos, von Groos.
Hope.
Hope. Okay. And I think I've got one more Karen. You've got a beautiful shawl on.
Hi. Adaptation.
Thank you. Tanya.
Soft.
Thank you. Diane.
Rested.
Thank you. Alice. Can you try that again?
Deep.
Deep. Thank you. Nancy.
Comforted.
Thank you. Julie.
Soft.
Erica.
Preservation.
Melissa.
Still.
Deb.
Gentle.
Brenda.
Connection.
Benet.
Patience.
Denise.
Peaceful.
Magdalena.
Release.
Michelle.
Soothing.
Cheryl.
Silence.
Sandra.
Soft.
Linda. Denise, I think I called on you. I did. Okay. Did I miss anybody? Because the blocks move around a bit, so I may have missed somebody. Denise. Says what? It's not showing up on mine. Simplify is Linda's. Okay. Oh, yeah, I see that. Okay. Thank you, Linda. Thank you. Denise's chi. Great. Hey, thank you, everybody. Those are great. I don't think we had any duplicates today. We often have duplicates, so that's interesting. Yeah, we usually continue recording. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Those were wonderful check-ins, like one-word check-ins. It's really nice to have that connection at the end in that way. So let's open up the floor. Anybody wants to speak more broadly about their experience or has any questions or comments at this time, you can on your, I think it's on more, you can raise your little hand. What is it on, Tim? Or you can do a little reaction. On reactions, you can raise your hand and then I'm not sure because we're hosting. Can somebody, Tanya, what is it under to raise your hand? Can you tell us because we're hosting, we don't know.
Yes, when you press, if you are on a computer, participants, when you click there,
Mm-hmm.
and there will be with participants, invite me with me, and there we should be having, oh no. This time it's not here. It should be there, but
It's not there. Okay. Oh, Nancy found it. Nancy, can you tell us how you found it? And then we'll take your question first.
I clicked on participants, and then way down at the bottom of the list of participants, there's a few choices, and one of them is lower raise or lower hand.
Perfect. Thank you, Nancy.
thank you.
Okay. Okay. All right. Nancy, did you have a question?
Not a
Comment?
question, but a comment. Those of you who I've been in touch with before in the community know that I've been going through some difficult times in my life. And I had another tragic event. My husband passed away 2 weeks ago.
I'm so sorry.
Thank you. And I guess my overriding feeling these days is aloneness. And today was the first day, I think, that I was completely alone, that I didn't have plans with somebody else, and I was really glad to see this session scheduled. I just looked yesterday and saw that it was scheduled like it was meant to be for me. So I really took all the messages of conserving energy and remaining quiet and waiting for spring and renewal in the context of that. And it was really very comforting. And I think something that I'll be able to keep with me through this experience.
Yeah, I'm glad you came today. I'm glad that we could be with you today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Pat, yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I couldn't find that hand button.
It's
But
okay.
I just wanted to say, bless you, Nancy, and also that I thought the 10-minute holds, Melissa, were wonderful for this season.
Mm,
That extra time really allowed me a lot of more space to release and just relax. And this hasn't ever happened to me in any of these sessions before, but I actually dozed off at the very end and didn't realize that you had lost connection, and then I thought it was me. But so I just wanted to say that the external and holds, I think, served me really well today. So thank you.
Yeah, I think that was probably true for most of you. I was really kind of surprised how little reaction there was to our technical glitch there at the end. I'm not really sure what happened, but there was really almost no reaction to that. Which normally when sound goes out and things freeze, I see a bunch of people like lurching to their screens. And there was really not almost any of that. So yeah, you guys were all in a nice restful state, so that's good. You can also raise your hand um, just by lifting your hand. I have some questions prepared too for your consideration as well. That some things that we might want to contemplate now, especially after having that time to practice. These are things that I find that I'm continually reflecting on, especially in winter season. Um, the question I can often ask myself, and I wonder for you, how how do you recognize the need to focus on storing your energy? Like, what are the cues that come up for you in your body? Like, when do you recognize that you're dipping into your reserves? What are some of the signs for you? What does that feel like in your body? Yeah, Melissa, go ahead.
One of my first signs is that I start drinking more coffee because I'm trying to override something. And then later on, I feel it in my body when I can't sleep and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting, isn't it? How, like, I can really relate to that one of not being able to sleep. How, like, when my body needs rest, it's unable to rest too. Yeah. Pascal.
Sorry. I wanted to say that when I am sleepy sometime at night, I still have things to do and I feel that I need to go and sleep. And I stay up because I say I have to do this and this. And then after my rhythm of sleep, it's no more, so I can't fall asleep again soon. And I have to wait, and I feel that I'm taking on my batteries.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I gotta say, I really love, and I'm seeing some people are slipping out, and I just want to say I recognize and honor that other people have other commitments, and if you need to leave, I totally understand that. That makes that. Thank you for coming, and we appreciate you being here, and yeah, enjoy your next calls and commitments. Um, One of the things that I've been sort of feeling that inner nudge to go back to is one of the books that we read in our book club, and it's called Hush. Can anybody remember the name of the Ruben Nyman? Ruben Nyman, Hush. It was a book that we read previously in our book club, and he speaks exactly what Pascal's talking about, this overcommitment to our waking world versus and he just has such a lovely way of inviting us to commit to our sleep world and our dream life. And I know when we go through like very stressful times in our lives, like Nancy's going through and many of us are going through right now, and when we have a lot of commitments, it's very easy to it's and very normal to get over. It's just our nervous systems. It's just automatic. It's not even something that we can really kind of control, but that we do have these resources. Like, and I have found in the past that Ruben Nyman's book, the Hush book, it's just this beautiful, and I know many of you find poetry very healing as well. It reads like poetry as well. And it's this beautiful invitation into sleep. And so I share that with you as much for me because I've been feeling that call to go back to it. Because I do know that when we go through difficult times, it is ironically harder to sleep. Yeah, Karen.
Hi, everyone. What came to mind for me, I think when I first read the description of what it was going to be, and you were talking about how the energy is not replenishable,
Mm.
and I was really shocked. I was like totally freaked out about, thinking in terms of like having this energy in me. But then I started thinking, and it's like, well, if that's my life force, my life is not infinite. And but at first I just found it like really very, very scary. And
Mhm.
so I'm trying, like to think in terms of recharging, gathering other energy that can be brought
Yes.
in, and I'm sure that's going to affect the one that is going to go away someday.
Right.
And and so I've come to feel a little bit better about it. And the other thing I was thinking about is my word was adaptation,
Mhm.
and I don't know, I'm having quite a bit of trouble with rotator cuffs right now, one more than the other, and I'm
Mhm.
not sure. Obviously I looked up rotator cuff and all this kind of stuff, and I'm not sure if that could have been brought on by tension, because I mean, what we have all gone through, or what I have gone through this past year, aside from personal tragedies, just life as it is in the world now, it's created tension. It's created a lot of things. And so I'm trying to adapt my practice and my life in general to like taking care of my shoulders. I'm trying not to put any strain on them. I'm trying to adapt a lot of poses.
Mhm.
Um, I'm just trying to do different things to help with the whole situation, and that and I realized that even when I was doing the practice today, which really didn't use a lot of shoulder stuff, I was still like really guarding and protecting my shoulders.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I think that's okay. I don't know if it's going to help much, but at least I'm not like pushing through it the way I have been doing for a long time. I'm
Mhm.
recognizing that it's there, and I have to take care of myself and take care of my body,
Mhm.
even though I still want to continue to practice. And
Mhm.
I don't think I'm really going much of anywhere with this, so so
I think
maybe I
you
should
are.
just.
I think there's two really important things that I want to address there, if you don't mind. And I think it's important for everybody. So I'm really glad you brought up both things. So I want to make sure I come back to the energy thing, but let's start with the shoulder. So it really is important that we listen to our own bodies and that we honor our bodies and that we don't override them into pain, especially sharpshooting pain and electric pain. We don't ever want to override into that. And here's something that's really important too. When we're dealing with an injury, it's also really important that we rehabilitate the injury so that we can go back to, like, we don't want to be protecting forever, right? Yeah. So, um, and we also don't want to be going back into injury again and again and again and again, right? So, this is a place where, and I can speak from my own experience here, we really do need to bring in outside resources in terms of expertise. And so that can be going to your doctor, getting a referral for physiotherapy if you have medical insurance and it covers that, or just searching for a good physiotherapist in your area, but really making sure that you get the proper rehabilitation that you need, because um, yes, we want to take care of our bodies and we want to make sure we're not moving into pain, especially not nerve pain and sharp shooting electric pain, but we also want to rehabilitate our bodies. So that's going to require outside resources in most cases, because I mean, like, I'll give the example of myself. I live in the tool shop. I get injured and I just can't see for myself, like with my own shoulders. I can't see for myself how to do it. And somebody else just very easily can look at me and say, okay, now you need to do this and you do this and we do it this way and we do it together. And also there's certain things that, like when I'm working with my trainer now, so a yoga therapist, a personal trainer, but you got to, you got to do your due diligence and look and find a good person. Like they're going to do things with you that you just can't do by yourself, right? So rehabilitation is important. And yes, we have resources and videos and things here that are great to do in the interim, but having that, like once a week at the beginning probably, and then down to once a month while you're rehabbing is just super, super important. So that's key. And yeah, it's an investment, but we want to make sure we rehab, and then we want to make sure you don't re-injure, right? So that it's strong and you're resilient. So the first part around the energy, I just want to check in because I think it's, yeah, that the the energy thing does definitely bring up the fear that, yeah, we're finite beings and we have a certain amount of energy when we're born, and then when it gets used up, then yes, we die. That's what happens, right? And that's, we move into old age, and that's really what the kidney chi is all about. And there are many seasons and there are many different organ systems, and there are other ways that we get energy too. And if we're really attending to those ways that we get energy, then we don't need to deplete our kidney chi, right? We keep that battery. It becomes like a generator that we only turn on when there's emergencies, so to speak, right? So according to traditional Chinese medicine, there are two other ways that we get energy. One is through the air that we breathe. And so as yogis, we do a lot of really good breathing and we know how to breathe well. It's not just breathing well, though, it's making sure that we breathe good quality air. So that means making sure we have time outside. And if you live in an area that has a lot of pollution, it's also worth investing in air filtration systems so that your air that you're breathing is clean. So good quality air, making sure we're breathing really good quality air will go a long way in supporting our energy, breathing well. For those of you, I don't know, those of you seen the new daily yoga for mental health under the daily hatha yoga section. There's a whole section in there on tending to our diaphragm. When we tend to our diaphragm in that way, that means you're going to breathe well. So that's an extra bonus. That ball around your diaphragm on a very regular basis is going to support you in breathing well. Paul has a whole video in the Dharma talk section on breathing that's brilliant. I highly recommend listening to it. Being educated on breathing well and getting good quality air will really support your energy. Not over breathing either. Sandra, who's also here, has another really excellent talk and resources on breathing. So those are great resources that will support you in your energy. So there's the air you breathe, and then the other way, according to traditional Chinese medicine, that we get our energy is through the food that we eat. So if our energy is being taken up with trying to digest food that is denatured, that is, that's like highly processed, that's not nutrient dense, then that takes from our energy. So it means to the best of our ability, we're going to eat foods that are in season, that are as fresh as possible, that have as few pesticides and that aren't sprayed as much as possible. To the best of our ability, we're going to buy the highest quality food that we can afford, and that's going to support our energy as well. And it really does. It really does. And feeding ourselves regularly. We talked a lot about this in the earth element season, which is late summer, when we gather in the food from the crops, right? It's about like not letting ourselves get over hungry too, because that drains our resources. So eating regularly, but also not overfeeding ourselves too. So there's always the balance, right? And I know you guys know this, but this is also just to reiterate that when we do these things, we don't draw on our energy reserves. Does that make sense? Yeah, go ahead, Nancy.
I have a question. Where could I learn more about it? It's intriguing to me that the kidney meridian energy is finite and can be depleted and can't be replaced, and the energy of other organ systems is not like that. Is there any place to learn more about why that is and what the differences are in the different kinds of energy?
So this is something that I've been teaching for the last couple years in our community in the 5 element courses. So you could do the earth element, right now we're in water element season. So you could do the water element course right now. That'll really teach you about water element. And then the other elements are available as well. The earth element retreat. So I would start with water element. It's going to take you 6 weeks. We're reading in our book club right now, The Way of the Happy Woman. That's a 5 element book, basically. So that's a really great resource too. So there's a lot of resources in our community that we have to support you. What I would say is don't try to learn everything all at once. To let the elements reveal themselves to you in their own time, because there's a kind of grasping that happens when you try to get everything at once that that creates its own kind of depletion. Yeah. So start with one thing, start with the 5 element course, let water element season, which we're in right now, reveal what it wants to reveal to you this season, and know that each season, water element season will reveal to you, winter will reveal to you what you need to know this season. And as we move into wood element season in spring, this spring, wood element will reveal what you need to know this spring. I find each time I go through a season, the element gives me a new insight, but it's absolutely impossible to know everything at the beginning. And when we try to do that, it creates a resistance that makes it so that it's harder to receive.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Cheryl?
Hi, everyone. So happy to be here today. I just wanted to share that this was absolutely just what I needed today also. My condolences to you, Nancy, for what you're going through right now. I am going through something with my work. It's very disturbing. There's a lot of conflict going on. And traditionally, I haven't dealt well with conflict situations. So there's a lot of mental activity going on in my mind about how I can best address the situation and honor my emotions, at the same time making decisions about how I'm going to move forward with this. So my word was silence, and I just cannot tell you how wonderful that felt, because my mind has been so occupied with what the story is around this that I haven't even been able to respond to my body's needs in the way that I know would be better serving to me. So that's just, I just wanted to share that, put it out there, and to let you know how grateful I am to be here with all of you today.
Thanks for coming. I'm glad you're here too. Yeah, Brenda.
I just want to thank you too, Melissa, and Tim for being here today and for your commitment to being here and spending this time with us, and for your teachings too. Like I'm finding as I'm learning more about what you teach us about 5-element theory and aligning our energy with the energy of the season. I'm finding this winter that it's I'm not as resistive to it. It's cold and the days are shorter and my energy is lower than it usually is, and what's wrong with me because my energy is low some days, and I'm just finding that I'm more accepting of that and have more compassion around that too. And some days, yeah, my energy is lower. Some days I feel like I'm more depleted and I'm tired, but I'm honoring that and nurturing that part of me. And it's just, I just feel like it's a better balance for me. And I'm grateful for the gifts that you share with us in your teachings.
I'm so glad to hear that. Thank you. I'm really glad to hear when there's like a comfort, a growing comfort with the rhythm of the seasons and the settling into that. And also what I hear in that is a growing inner trust with your own being, and yeah, just a growing inner trust. Like, no, like there's like I'll just draw an analogy with my own experience right now. Like I love winter season because there's just so much permission for me to slow down and be quiet and rest and do all those kind of inner healing things and those inner journey things and that kind of shadow work stuff. And I love this time of year for that because I don't have to be up and out and expansive, right? And there's enough for me too. And I kind of hear this between the lines in what you're saying, Brenda. I just want to acknowledge this, that there's enough discernment for me now to know the difference between that and when like all out inertia sets in and when things aren't right and when I'm going into a depressive state. And I know that I have the resources to reach out and reach out to the resources that I have, whether it be therapy or herbs or whatever, when the things that normally work aren't working, that I know that I have that discernment and that ability to reach out and to do something different. So I think there's that. I just want to acknowledge that there's this real beauty in this season, and then there's also this inner trust, and that there's this discernment when, yeah, no, things are off, right? That I can tell the difference. Okay, is there anything else that feels like wants to be spoken at this time? Any other questions? Any other comments? Okay, I want to thank you all so much for coming today. It was really beautiful to be with you, to practice with you today in community. I thank each and every one of you for being here. And I also really appreciate each and every one of you who spoke about your own experiences so openly and honestly and shared really quite vulnerably today as well. Each one of us, it supports each one of us in our own experience, and it helps us to build self-compassion and compassion together as a community, because we're not alone in our experiences. And it helps us to know that for those of you that are speaking about your experiences, I know I found it really supportive for myself today. So thank you to each one of you that spoke today as well. Thank you, everybody. Have a good rest of your day and evening for those of you who are in your evening. And we'll see you again soon. Namaste. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye
Bye,
bye.
everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Take care. Bye-bye.